Dems desperate over endangered seat in Maryland, with young Republican giving them fits. One of the things we need to do is get more conservative folks in office who are going to be willing to stand up for principles and the American people, and not constantly cave to the Democrats. We've had enough of the compromisers and the ones who, when they get into power, always seem to turn it right over to the Democrats. So, we need strong folks to get in across the country to uphold that fight. Democrats are in deep trouble in races across the country. One of the races that is vulnerable to being flipped is Maryland's 6th District, presently held by Rep. David Trone, the progressive multimillionaire owner of Total Wine. One of the people running against him is the youngest in any of the races, 25-year-old conservative reporter and outsider Matthew Foldy, who touts that he used to work for the Free Beacon, exposing the Biden team and Democrats as one of the reasons to vote for him. Foldy still has to win in the primary, but he's already taking big whacks at his Democratic opponent for not going into work and not having his office open for his constituents. "I'll stop this madness and I'll actually show up to work," Foldy says in his ad. He says the district being represented by a part-time representative ends the day he's elected. Foldy did some terrific reporting on a major conflict in the Biden administration that not many were talking about, involving Jennifer Granholm and the stock she owned, an electric vehicle battery company Proterra. His reporting made her have to sell the stock, and he said he'd use subpoena power to figure out to whom she sold it. I think voters and the American people realize there's a lot of sketchy stuff going on in the Biden administration, but we cannot count on the mainstream media to do that, Foldy told Fox News last month. And I felt like on what I could do as a journalist, my role was limited. The Biden administration can ignore us, and we unfortunately don't have subpoena power as journalists. Foldy said his reporting for the Free Beacon inspired him to give up his journalism career and run for office himself after he exposed Democratic lawmakers who've continued working remotely instead of from their offices in D.C. and in their home districts, accusing them of having a part-time job as U.S. representatives. The young Maryland native, whose reporting has landed him on popular cable news programs such as Tucker Carlson Tonight, is calling for a new generation to take over this country, accusing President Biden and Speaker Nancy Pelosi of destroying this country. Foldy was just 12 years old when Biden was first elected vice president and only 10 when Pelosi first became Speaker of the House. They're not in touch with the consequences of their failures. They don't even know how to fill up a tank of gas, and they have no idea how much it costs. They have no idea about the supply chain crisis. They do not deal with rising crime that we're dealing with. Their kids do not go to public schools, he said. It looks like Foldy is already giving the Democrats and Trone fits. Trone notes he was named to the @DCCC frontline, meaning that he's going to get extra attention because they're very afraid that his seat might be flipped. How bad is it? They have 33 people they are designating as more vulnerable. What's their response to all this? Not any greater insight, no better policies to repair what they've messed up. Their approach? Let's call everyone extremist MAGA Republicans. DCCC Chairman Rep. Sean Patrick Maloney told Roll Call, extremist MAGA Republicans' disastrous agenda for America is on the ballot this November and voters are going to reject it. Yeah, no. Maloney needs to check in with CNN's Harry Enton and see that Americans are going for Republicans big time on the generic ballot, with the best number in history, going back to 1938. Prepare for a lot of tantrums on the way, when they lose a lot of these. The wave will not be denied.